Hello and welcome. I am your host, Tennille Christensen from Earth Mama, where I teach people to get skilled in sustainability. This is the Permaculture Herbalism segment brought to you by the Elder Tree, where we are putting the medicine in the hands of people. Thank you for tuning in. I'm recording from my studio in Jabukai land of Kuranda, Australia. And I'm going to give my respects today and always to the First Nations people, past, present and future, and offer my gratitude for the opportunities to learn their ancient wisdom in our modern world, bridging time and culture so we may all thrive. This segment is all about merging the world of permaculture and herbalism, so the art and science of ecological design and plant wisdom or plant medicine so that we can cultivate healthy landscapes and people. If you want to be involved, you can be part of the Elder Tree Trove, which is our Patreon community. Stay tuned to this episode for more information, and without further ado, let's get into the interview. Dan Winter is a multi-disciplinary bodyworker and epigenetic health coach who supports his community to understand their bodies better so they can live empowered and meaningful lives. Dan believes that when we understand the fundamental laws of nature and then apply them to our lives, we unlock our capacity to heal. Ever since he can remember, he has been curious about human potential. The challenges that he met in his health journey have fueled his interest to look deeper, to listen, and to learn how to optimize his own function across many areas of health and live a life in harmony. In this conversation, Dan and I discuss the importance of permaculture and how it serves as a lens for viewing life and, in particular, his body work. He shares his understanding of the Chinese 5 elements theory, Ayurveda, Zenthai Shiatsu, and permaculture principles as useful modalities to integrate nature into health and well-being. We would open our ears, what would we hear? Welcome, Dan. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode today. Shall we jump straight into the interview?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, Tennille.
Could you share with our audience why permaculture is an important aspect of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, as my trade, I'm a bodywork therapist. So I work with people in their body and their health from that angle, not so much hands in the soil anymore. However, the reason that I love permaculture and that whole realm is because I see it as a lens for viewing life through. And from my perspective, over time, I've gathered lots of different lenses. And these are, whether it's different systems, and another example would be Ayurveda, the 3 dosha systems, or the 5 elements that come from different lineages of traditional wisdom. But these are all lenses that we can use, and they're really versatile. So we're able to look through all aspects of our life by using these, and permaculture, it works the same way. So I find it really helpful to understand these underlying principles and threads, and to use these. They've been super supportive in me better understanding, I guess, the essence of how nature can function, and myself as an extension of that, because I believe that we are, of nature, and we have the same basic sort of functionality. So it just helps me navigate my life overall, make decisions, kind of look at what my values are, and have a reference for those things.
Really well put. And I mean, you're known as, Dan, you do a lot of the body worker. You do so much in terms of healing and support for people in our community in health and well-being. And, herbalists, I've heard a lot of herbalists say that medicine, sleep is medicine as much as plants are medicine. But, breath is medicine, like the intention and the things that we do to bring about health and well-being comes in all different ways. And, so you've got this, you're in this path of providing services to help people with their bodies. But you studied permaculture, you did your PDC a while back. So could you just share on that experience?
Absolutely, yeah. So I actually did my PDC um, around 2014 or so. And that was after I kind of sparked the deep sort of spark of connecting with the land. After a bit of time in Thailand, I ended up staying on a couple of different permaculture education centers. Some of the listeners may know Pun Pun and the Panya Project. They're in North Thailand and they focus on permaculture principles as a sustainable business model and education system, and earth building as well. And after that, living on site for a while, I came back and I just had a thirst for it. It activated something in me. And so I actually did my course with Luke Matthews out the back of Mackay in the Finchhatton Gorge. And it was great fun. It was such a beautiful place to do it too. And it really helped me from that perspective of zooming out and looking at all of the aspects, I guess, from a design perspective, to be able to look at zoom out, yeah, and get a global picture of how an ecosystem can function really well, and circling back to that lens system. So even though I haven't applied this officially and thoroughly in many contexts, I've actually applied it in lots of different areas of my life, just looking at how different aspects of a whole system can interrelate better, and how basically is a principle that when we try and isolate something and extract that one part, it often doesn't have the same effects as something that's in the context of its living environment where it has its community to support it. And that I've seen that go for a lot of things. Yeah.
Mm. So within the ecosystems and each of the systems that meet each other and functional together is the same as within our body systems. Hey, you see these patterns when there's a problem, an
Absolutely.
issue come up in someone's body. It's not actually necessarily that; it's something else underlying. And you searching, like, how do you apply it in terms of body work?
Awesome question. Thank you. So yeah, it's great. What I notice is there's this sort of vacillation between global and local, I call it. So it's zooming in and zooming out because we need both, right? But when
Yes.
we talk of indigenous cultures, they often have that, I call it like a 360 awareness, this peripheral awareness, and they're able to walk through life with that. And it has these great advantages because they don't get so caught up on things the way a narrow focus when we hold that for too long can have. But what
Mm.
I notice when I'm working with people is that if there's a really strong story or something that's kind of quite fixed, whether it's a story about what's wrong or what's going on, or just one thing in the body system that won't budge, it won't seem to be malleable or sensitive to adaptation, then that's when I look at it and I want to zoom out and look at the context relationship. Because if something's able to be influenced and offered a suggestion to change or be in another way or adapt, you could say,
Yeah.
then it shows there's a bit more coherence and the parts are talking to each other. And so I
Yeah.
look at it in that way, like, for example, the micro organisms under the soil and all that connective structure that has become apparent to us recently, that the body system works the same. And but when we are lasered in on one thing, whether our mind gets caught on an idea about what we think's the problem, but yet
Hmm.
if we're not experiencing the resolution that we might like, I question, what is that story? What's the function of that story? And can we zoom back out? Can we take a bit of that laser focus off, a bit of that spotlight off, and look back at what are some other elements, whether it's the emotional realm, whether it's other things at play, and just essentially soften that focus from kind of putting all the responsibility on one portion of the system.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing in so much of what you just said then, it's like those principles of the pattern to detail. We're going from big picture to detail, and having that capacity, that mindset, and building that mindset muscle of being able to go from bounce in between those two places when we're approaching systems and problems or challenges, to be able to seek solutions, so that we're not just always focused on the detail or starting from that place. And then there's the integration rather than segregation principle, which is that holistic looking at all aspects, not just that narrow-minded or narrow focus. And being creatively responding to change. One of my most favorite principles in permaculture is that when we carry those stories, that becomes it. That's the reality that we're creating. So if we can even open up to changing perspectives or different ideas or different possibilities, then we're stepping into that systems thinking and the wider big picture and more holistic integrated approach. So they all relate to one another, and it's so cool that your business is, what you do is body relate. I see a lot of similarities there. So Dan, when it comes to integrating plants from a herbalism perspective, do are there certain plants in your life that, you will always find in your home or your garden, or something that you seek out within the community?
So where I'm at the moment is I have had stages of being a little gypsy kid living in the rainforest and living very simply, off grid, all that sort of stuff. And now I'm in my full urban outfit this portion of my life. So I live in a little townhouse in the heart of Cairns. I have no yard. I have a courtyard that's paved, that's about 5 meters by about 3 meters. And so my contact with the earth and the natural elements has been limited somewhat. However, fortunately, and I'm grateful for this, understanding these sorts of principles and using them in my life, I've adapted to that. I've been curious, and it's given me a context and some initiative to look at, like, how can I still be in touch with these elements. And so there's a little strip of soil I have around my backyard. There's a little front yard in the complex, and I've kind of, with the help of a neighbor, we've kind of like guerrilla planted out a few little things there. So one of the mainstays that I would say, if I was talking to those things, so for example, we have a court at the end of our road, and it's not a community garden, but it's called a neighborhood garden, I think. So it's kind
Same
of like a
thing.
community garden sort of thing. Yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
little neighborhoody areas. So they basically work with the council and occupy spaces that are not getting used. They're just getting mowed. So I'm fortunate to say that I've been able to sort of, I guess you could say, bomb these little areas with some really resilient species that just thrive up here. For example, there's a little dwarf Cavendish banana in the front yard. I picked a couple of red dragon fruits. There's a bunch of other little things that just tick away. Hopefully some papayas coming through soon, some simple beans, wing beans, snake beans, these sorts of things. So it's been a good challenge for me to integrate that into this, into my existence now, because the truth is it doesn't take much at all. You can create that ecosystem on a micro scale, and it's actually a
Mm.
kind of a fun challenge.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great example of, living in an urban place, or, and we have these different moments in our lives. I've lived in cities as well. And yeah, having just some herbs in a little strip or access to a neighborhood garden, it's a really special thing to get out there and involved in it. And uh, so even if you're not growing food in your own garden or balcony, and you're sharing amongst other people, like obviously you're a healthy person, you promote health and well-being. So when you are doing your shopping and you're providing, supporting farmers or whoever is providing your sustenance, what are people going to see? Like, what is it that you're harvesting from your local growers per se, in terms of herbs and food as medicine? Like, what's your general medicinal diet like?
Okay, the staples. So, yeah, often a big part of it will come from Rusty's Market, which is, you'd be very familiar. It's the local, I guess you could say, growers market. So there we have a big Asian population in this region, possibly because of the climate might be similar. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's an absolute blessing. So we have
Mm.
like quite a diverse range of Asian crew, and they all just have their awesome farming techniques that they have already known for long, long times. So they do a great job of urban farming, because a lot of them just have urban blocks. Like, they have big house blocks down in the southern burbs, and they pump out herbs like you wouldn't believe. So we often get to Rusty's on the weekend usually, and we will pick up, often papayas is pretty staple. Um, and just with this type of climate, there's such a variety of leafy greens, often the ones that are not so familiar, like most, I guess, most Caucasians in Australia might not be so familiar with them. But essentially, once you learn how to supplement them with the standard stuff that doesn't grow so well here, you can get by really well, and they're in abundance. So we tend to lean a little bit back towards some of the European herbs because of my and my partner's genetics, and also because quite a few of them we use are antifungal and antiviral, and the fungus is a thing in the north with this warm,
Mhm.
damp conditions. So we will often use herbs in that place rather than herbs as kind of a addition. We'll switch and make salads where herbs are kind of like the base. And so we've found that's really helped us in a way. And I feel a big part of it's probably because of the compounds. There's just more of those aromatic oils in them in a higher concentration. And it's great to just shift from thinking of a salad based on lettuce, for example, and a salad based on herbs. You're just going to get more nutrition in there. And it gives a bit more of that, like, I find it gives more like a pop or something like that. I just feel more vitality when the herbs give me a bit more of a spark.
For sure. So what are they? Like, what are the herbs? What posy are you
Yes.
walking out of Rusty's with?
So I'm walking out with, there's the Asian stuff, and the European stuff. So I'll start with the European stuff. Often we pump the parsley,
Yeah.
um, lots of parsley. We love the thyme, and
Mm.
somehow the Asian crew up here managed to grow it, which is very impressive because I've tried multiple times and it must be quite specific. So good on them for that.
Yep.
And then the sage, we love the sage. So those few are kind of the staples from the European side of things. Um, Something that we will tend to use on the other side with the Asian stuff can be, whether it's sweet potato greens, we have a fair few of those growing at home just to be steamed. There can also be the Okinawa spinach, like the rambling kind of spinach there,
Yep.
and the sweet leaf, which I'll probably touch on a little bit more shortly. Yeah, they're
Mm.
they're kind of they're kind of our go-to staples.
Awesome. So do you have a favorite plant that you can recommend as a must-have?
Yeah, that would for sure be the sweet leaf. Now,
Yeah.
that's just because I'm a bit of a utilitarian kind of at my heart. I have grown over the years to appreciate all function, and so I love having flowers and beautification in my
Yeah.
gardens now too. Um, but again, it kind of winds back to a functional utilitarian point of view, because I'm like, oh, I can see the function in these things now. but I still adore them, and beauty is amazing because it just underlines the richness of our life and makes us feel great. So the sweet leaf I love because what I notice is when people are coming into reintroducing themselves or introducing themselves for the first time to gardening in the tropics, often if they've gardened somewhere else, it's going to be a cooler climate. And you just can't get away with most of the same things. And so what often happens is I find people come in guns blazing, they feel really fired up, and then they'll often become disheartened because they'll put a lot of energy in and they'll attempt to grow crops that are either subtropical or temperate, and they won't have great results, especially not in summer. And so what I find is I love to have these simple like staffs of life, I call them, that's like, hey, get some of this, like literally you cut a woody stem section, stab it in the ground like a spear, like literally it gets a bit of water here and there, it's fine. Grows in shade, grows in full sun. Don't, let's get some basic wins on the board, like, oh look, it's great, it's just going to be abundant. And yeah, it grows this beautiful little oval shaped sort of leaves, and they're pretty tasty. They have a sort of slightly sweet taste, that's for the name. And yeah, very useful. It provides all year round. It's perennial. It just grows and grows, and as soon as it grows, you just chop sections off and stab more in the ground, and you can have a little. I like growing them in a little column because
Yep.
then you can just do like a one chop harvest. They can get a little bit sort of dangly and gangly, if you will. And then when they go to seed, I'm not sure, you may be able to guide me on this. Is it around the winter time? Um,
Yep.
yeah, and if you get the seeds early, before they have their little black actual seeds inside the pod, when they're white, you can eat them, and they kind of have this. They taste like a pea themselves, like light and sweet and
Mm.
crunchy.
Yep.
So yeah, sweet leaf is the one for me. I have consumed a fair bit of it over time. Yes, love sweet
I
leaf.
love sweet leaf. Thank you for sharing that with our community here. I was wondering when that was going to come up on the special plant list from all of our interviewees. Yeah, so good. My daughters call it daddy's leaf because Blake used to just walk around the
Mm,
garden and he taught that was the first plant he taught the kids to, this is a safe plant to eat. And then they would just strip the leaves off and then boom, there it actually loves being harvested. It gets more thick. And as you said, if you plant them in a row, we call it a fedge, as in like a food
mm,
hedge. And yeah, the more you cut that back and give it shape, the new little bright green shoots that come out of it are actually the most tastiest. Like the leaves are yummy, like you said, they have like a sweet flavor to them, but all of the new shoots are delicious. And it's also called, like some of the Asian market ladies told me, they call it tropical asparagus, so you can use
mm.
it just like you would asparagus in those kind of recipes. And yeah, and super high in protein as
Yes,
well. Yeah, I have that plant, the sweet leaf, as it's listed in my book as one of the tropical superfoods. It definitely reaches that caliber.
exactly. I just referenced back to your book just recently, remembering that. I was like, yeah, I reckon it's in here. I'm going to check it out.
I love it. Oh, and so is there an example of when you've utilized plants in your life to help with, if you were ill or sick, or just to, improve your health when you knew you can't, on the edge and you needed to sort of up the health ante? Is there any experiences that you could share where it comes back to plants?
I have a dear friend and brother down on the Sunshine Coast who is an Ayurvedic practitioner, naturopath, and a few other things. Um, but I've been involved in supporting his Ayurvedic detox retreats. And
Mm.
so over years, it's kind of it's like a traditional, if we're not familiar with Ayurveda, like part of the traditional health or healing system of India.
Mhm.
Yoga is a branch of Ayurveda, and they happen. There's a really extended system called Panchakarma, which is about a month or so. It's pretty involved,
It's
and this is
amazing.
like,
I've done it. Love it. So you
yeah,
supporting in
Panchakarma.
this? Yeah,
Yes.
Panchakarma.
So essentially, it's a compressed, hybridized Panchakarma. It's not a complete one,
Yep.
but it's pushed down into 7 days, and there's
Mhm.
some preparation and stuff. So I've supported on these, and also been involved in them as a recipient. So
Yep.
some of the roles that I took involved in this were brewing up some of the herbs to balance people's unique constitution and mixing some of the herbs.
Mm.
And I used these detox retreats as a part of my learning, and also part of my healing. Because I was in a pretty good state of health anyway, but there's these always the little bits and pieces that I want to look at, and I'm just curious, tweaking little elements. And as
Mm.
I age, I've noticed that I'm getting more inflammatory, or you could say from a energetics point of view, more um, heat expressions in my body.
Mhm.
And it's just a thing, when we age, we tend to dry out as a general rule. So when that fluid or water element's not balanced, then the fire will rise, and that can happen. So I was using some of these to clear some of those. Like I was getting little bits of blotches of red on my skin and stuff, rosacea and things. And so one of the herbs, which is a sweet red root, I believe it must be from India somewhere, and it supports your fluids, to cleanse your fluid system and build it back up, allow it to build itself back up without putting pressure on the kidneys. It's called Cereva. That's kind of the common name, and I believe the name is the Latin name is Hemidesmus indicus. But it's yeah, you can boil it up in a tea, you simmer it away for a little while, and it overall will work to cool this pitta inflammation, or they just say this excess sort of fire inflammation and heat in your system. It can support menstrual issues, it can support skin problems if they're heat related. It can help to cleanse the lymphatic system, and can stimulate the clearing of excess water from our system without straining the kidneys. So I really liked it, and it has a slight, it's not like some herbs are quite intense. This has a
Mm.
mild sweet flavor, so I could kick back on that for a while. So yeah, that was something that I've used here and there over time to support my body.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, I worked with Shatvari a lot when I did my Panchakarma, but I think, yeah, it was a Ayurvedic, really interesting journey, and so much more, a big world in that space to learn more about. But thanks for sharing that insight. And from you touched on earlier in that first question, and you spoke to Chinese medicine and the five elements. Is there anything that you want to share around that? Like, how was that understanding of the elemental energies in nature and within the body and healing, and yeah, I'd just love to hear your take on it if you have anything to share.
So in relation to the five elements, or the five element theory, which
Mm.
relates to the Chinese medicine system, or traditional Chinese medicine system, that parts that they've taken and created a modern system out of what was traditional beliefs and ways of being in China.
Mhm.
So that five elements system is part of, integrated into the body work that I am trained in and practice as a therapist and teacher, called Zenthai Shiatsu. And that's a fusion of a few different systems, but it has a branch of it that looks at treating the body through the understanding and that lens system of the five elements, and how they function in a cyclical manner. So they, if you think of the basic elements of yin yang, or you could liken it to water fire, not exactly, but it's close. You know, that lower cooling, condensing energy, and the expanding, expressing, rising sort of energy. And then on the way up, we have the wood element, because the wood draws from its mother, and we refer to the mother as in the element that predates or comes before the element that we're speaking of. And so the wood channels, it draws the water, and it's nourished by the water, and it channels and creates direction, and it rises up and expands like it's the expression of the canopy, the expression of the leaves into the canopy, up and outward. And then we come around to the full yang, which is the fire element, and relates to the heart, these sorts of things. Now, as we come around, we start to cool, we start to condense, and we move into the earth element. And you can see this as energy moves around a system, the energy gets transformed. And so the water rises up and is channeled through the wood. The wood in its full expression gets basically combusted, and it gets transformed. And then that ash falls down from the fire and settles to create the substance that's the earth. Once the earth is more nourished and its full expression, it creates mineral or metal. So it's the metal element, but that's an evolved expression of the earth. And from the metal area, or mineral, I like to say, because it's easier to understand there, the mineral supports and enriches the water, and it moves back down into that full yin to complete that cycle of life. And so there's lots of relationships, whether it's physical, psycho-emotional, but that system of the 5 element theory I've found super, super useful for helping me in my life, whether it be where I get stuck, and I'm not able to let go of things. That relates to the metal element, processing of grief, change, and it all weaves into the meridian systems, or these energetic rivers that we have. So without going into too much detail, the 5 elements has been very, very supportive in being that lens for me, where I can see so many parallels between just the basic function of nature and life, and also the permaculture principles.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to have these, ancient but still very relevant ways of seeing ourselves in our environment and the environment inside of our bodies, and how it has these characteristics and ways of moving just like our external environment, and the laws, the LORE of nature, how it's
Mm-hmm.
playing out inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very empowering way to see and engage in the world, for sure. And I guess that's how and why you are sought out as a healer and somebody to see when feeling a bit gunky and needing work on your body, to come and connect to that wisdom and knowledge that you carry. So thank you, and it would be great to know and to share with our listeners what's alive and thriving in your life right
Ooh, so much brimming, but there is
now.
one brimming right at the surface, and it's at the surface of my beautiful woman's belly. So I have a very small human growing rapidly, which just before this call, we actually had our 20-week scan. So we were able to see this little one bustling around in there and watch its heart fluttering like a little bird. The 4 valves of the heart look so much like a bird's wings flapping. It's amazing. So that is right at the forefront for me. And this very small human is already helping me to be more present. And I think that's only going to increase. So that's right at the core in my personal life. Now, stepping out into my professional life, I'm creating some structures this year that will allow our community in the far north, tropical North Queensland, to be more resilient. And overall, that's through connecting with each other. So there's two branches to that. One is a group called the Far North Queensland Holistic Practitioners Guild. Now, this is a group that is emerging as a way to plug us all in and create awareness within the realm of all people in the region doing things that are promoting community connection, promoting the health and resilience of humans. And so it's a platform where we can come together, get more familiar with each other, so we can actually get more get more in tune with what each other is actually offering, rather than being generally aware. Because once we build a solid connection with somebody and we have a sense of them and what they offer, it's very easy to understand how that connects with other people's needs. And I really
Hmm.
feel that in the north, this is a big gap. We have amazing humans up here, but you look down on the sunny coast, Brisbane, urban areas, they have the connectivity networks already built. Now I
Yeah.
feel we have a little bit more there to just share and show the amazing humans that are already here, and
Mm.
remind us of all the others that are here, because that will really help to just create that updraft where we can all shine together and be more. Yeah.
Love it.
So
Well,
that's one element.
I hope the elder tree can be one of the physical spaces or venues to hold space for those gatherings and connection points. It's definitely in alignment.
I absolutely love what the elder tree is doing, and I see the elder tree as like a flagship, a pioneer in this region. So such huge gratitude to you all. Such huge gratitude. The vision is amazing, and it's just great to see these foundations going in that I am very confident will support our community for many generations. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's like you know, we're all doing these upgrades and creating these connection points and all at the same time. And it feels like, the different rivers are all coming to meet into this, or the different creeks of our work are going to be coming in and meeting at this central place where we can be doing all the cross pollination and, um, you know, strengthening the path of healing and well being in this region for all of our people. So, what else? What else? I know you've
Yeah.
got heaps more
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll crack into it. So I have also embarked on, I'm now co-host of the Life in Harmony community radio show. So that
Yay!
happens every Tuesday, 9 till 10. We'll drop a link to listen in live in the show notes. But that is a really cool thing because it weaves in the same way. And essentially, myself and my dear friend Rain are going flip flop week to week. So I'll be on every 2 weeks hosting. My focus is to look at practitioners and game changers within the region of Far North, and to be able to have them come on, and for the community to be able to become more aware of who they are personally, their story, that intimate connection. And that's the word that I just was looking for earlier on. Get more intimately connected with people so we can have that tangible felt sense of whether this person and their skills relates to my needs in my life, and to be able to create those networks to exchange value. And so this is a big element. I'm working with sort of practitioners, game changers. Rain will be working with community music and events. And so that's a big one. And stepping on from there, I am running a 4-day Zenthai Shiatsu level 1 immersion. So that's 4 days diving into the sacred art that is Zenthai Shiatsu, movement-based therapy. And this is a beautiful opportunity for people to pretty much just dive into 4 days of really immersing in self-care, how to be present with somebody else, how to offer hands-on therapy safely and in a nourishing manner, how to hold space. There's a lot of ceremony involved. We circle, we dance, we sing together, and you end up coming away with an amazing toolkit of how to practice as a functional bodyworker and support somebody else in their path.
Wow. When's that happening?
That's 7th till 10th of September, and that'll be happening in Cairns. And you can find the info to that on the Zenthai Shiatsu website, the Australian
Which we'll have
website.
linked in the show notes as well.
Beautiful.
Make it super easy.
Yeah, and so the final element is just my daily practice, my weekly practice. So my practice here in Edge Hill, which is structural therapy, Zenthai Shiatsu, so a couple of different styles of bodywork, supporting people with their body and mind, and also epigenetic health coaching. So essentially, in a nutshell, it sounds like a lot, but it's basically just learning about your unique genetic tendencies and the needs that you have that are different to others, so we can stop comparing ourselves to the health trends that are hyping and understand what are our actual unique needs and what context do we need to be in to thrive.
Love that. Wow. And so is that one-on-one coaching with people,
Yeah,
that aspect?
yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Great. So you've got your one-on-one, you've got the 4-day training, you're doing community radio education, and you're growing a baby. Amazing. Well, Dan, it was so beautiful having this conversation with you, and I appreciate the sharings around the 5 elements as well. That's new to, well, it's not new to me, but I just didn't have that. I've never been guided through the way the elements all work from one to the other in the cycle. So that was a really beautiful takeaway. And yeah, just, the reflection on how, beyond doing a PDC, the direction that people go in and how it influences, your people's paths, and how you've taken some of the principles and also weaved it into traditional Chinese medicine and Zendutai and your integrative body work. Now it's really inspiring, and it's great to have you part of this community, and looking forward to all the possible ways that the elder tree and your work and network can all benefit from those intimate connections with each other.
It's been an absolute blessing. Thank you so much, and I'm so proud to be a part of this growing network in the North.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it now with someone you know will benefit from this information. And remember, we're not just talking about change, we are cultivating it. Through these conversations and through the Elder Tree Patreon community, together we are sowing the seeds for an education center and healing sanctuary. You can unlock access to our treasure trove of wisdom via our Patreon, so you can do that in the show notes below or from our website. Please subscribe now and leave us a review. It really helps the bots share our podcast with the world, and your support ensures that this podcast and our vision can thrive. To grow them is to know them is to use them is to love them, and then happily herbs become your way of life. May you be blessed with good health and many plans.